Alright, today I will tell you how to goose hunt and what you need to to stay warm and shoot birds. If you have never been goose hunting, you are missing out on a lot of fun. In the year of 1962, a scientist found 12 Canadian geese on Silver Lake in the heart of Rochester, Minnesota. They thought they were extinct. The population has been growing ever since. Most of you probably know somebody who hunts. Raise your hand if you've ever been goose hunting. Okay, that's good. We'll teach you guys something. Alright, I have personally been hunting for 6 years and got into waterfowl hunting about 5 years ago. Now I will tell you about some of my favorite things about hunting. Personally, my favorite time to shoot geese is late season. The reason for that is the geese are big, smart, and slow rolling. In other words, hunting migrators. It is a lot harder to shoot geese late season than early season. Early season starts September 1st and late season ends in the middle of December. In early season, you are hunting a lot of local birds with really small feeds. And in the middle of the season, you are hunting molts, which molts are geese that are young birds that migrate early. So when you get a 45-degree day with a north wind, a lot of times you'll be seeing a lot of molts moving south. And then late season, the birds are very tough, and they usually only stay around for about 2 weeks, and then they migrate south, and then more birds move in. But the feeds are a lot bigger late season, and there's a lot more birds in the area. I have hunted geese in many ways and many places. My favorite place to hunt geese is in my buddy's field on the southeast side of Hutchinson. The reason for that is because of the refuge in Hutch and the number of birds migrating through. Now that you have heard a little bit about my favorite part about hunting, I will tell you what you need to hunt. The first and most important thing you will need is decoys. There is many kinds of different decoys and different brands. Like full body decoy is kind of self-explanatory, is like a full goose on a stand. And this is a shell, a sleeper shell, because this is how geese sleep. And you face them so the wind is coming, because then it doesn't ruffle up their feathers. And then there's a floater, which looks a lot like this, but the heads are in different positions and they're floating. And then you have silhouettes, which a silhouette is like a piece of cardboard almost, but it's not cardboard, it's like thin. And it's on a stake, and that's just like a picture of a goose printed onto a piece of, I forget what it is, like plastic or something. But my favorite brand is DOA Decoys, and they are actually made in Maple Lake, Minnesota. And the second thing you'll need is somewhere to hide. And there's 2 ways you can hide, and that is in a layout blind. And layout blinds are a blind that is on the ground, and you pop open the doors when the geese come, and then you sit up and shoot them. And then the other way is in an A-frame or a panel blind, and that is where you sit in like a lawn chair or whatever, and you have the blind around you, and then you stand up and shoot when they come in. And my favorite brand is Tangle Free. And then you will need calls. My favorite thing to do while hunting is probably calling and seeing the birds react to my calls. And this is a rush, and it's very short barrel and long insert, because it's very short and fast and responsive. This is really good for a low end, and it's quiet when the geese are like moaning and making their low noises. And then this is mainly used for being really realistic. And these are my duck calls. And then another thing while you're goose hunting that is very rewarding is a band, and it's around their foot, on their leg. And when you shoot a band, it doesn't really mean much to people who don't hunt, but it's kind of cool because it has a number on them, and you can look it up and see where they're from. Like, I've been with on 3 bands, and I got this one, and it was from Iowa, and then another one was from Canada, then one was from northern Minnesota. But then you will need something warm to wear that'll keep you warm and dry, and it helps to have a really warm base layer, and then your outer layer waterproof and windproof, just like this jacket here. My favorite brand is Sitka. Those are some of the things you need to shoot geese. Other things like headlamps and headlights are some good things you can have while hunting, and snacks and a hot coffee also makes it a lot more enjoyable. Now that you know what you need to shoot geese, you will need to know how. The first thing you need to do is find the birds. In other words, go scouting. There's 3 ways you can shoot geese. The first place is probably the best place, and that is hunting in fields, because I feel like that is the most ethical way, because the birds have to come to you and you have to call them in. And then the second place is hunting them on a loaf, and a loaf is where they sit during the day in early season, and then at night they'll go feed, and then in the morning they'll feed, but it's pretty much just where you can say where they hang out during the day. And then that doesn't really happen much in late season because they sit on water all day most of the time, but and then the last place would be hunting their roost, which I don't think this is very ethical, because that is where they're sleeping at night, and you pretty much are shooting something that doesn't have a chance at getting away, and plus you'll make the birds leave and head south most of the time. The easiest way to scout them is to find their roost and follow them to the feed, and then you'll need to ask for permission to hunt the field. And then once you wake up in the morning, you cannot forget to run to Casey's for breakfast, pizza, and coffee. Once you get to the field, you'll need to set up decoys and weed your blinds. That is putting like stubble and grasses in your blinds so they can't see you. You'll need about 2 hours to do that. You can shoot 5 geese per person early season, and late season you can shoot 3. It all depends on the time of the birds. It can vary from day to day depending on weather, rain, temperature, and they can fly at 9:30, 11:30, at 2:30 on really cold days. I hope you have learned something about goose hunting today. After listening to my speech, I hope you have learned something and how much preparation and effort goes into hunting. I hope this encouraged you to join the amazing hobby of goose hunting like me. Thank you for listening.